So there's a lot of people that are like, this is my swear by immunity ingredient too. So gut health, leaky gut syndrome, just overall digestive wellness, bloating, regularity and constipation, immunity, and last but not least, because this is like a superfood that affects all things, is skin and hair health.
We are Gold Ivy. Our mission is to empower you to own and unleash your truth. Stories of resiliency are gold, and ivy grows in hard places. Those hard places are what creates space for light to shine through. You decide what works for your daily life and how to transform our lessons into your gold. This is Ivy Unleashed, a Gold Ivy production. Welcome back to Ivy Unleashed. Today we are welcoming back a guest who is not just a fan favorite, but a true pioneer in bridging the gap between clinical medicine and natural healing, Dr. Stephanie Redmond. Last time Dr. Stephanie was here, she gave us a masterclass on blood sugar and the GLP-1 craze. But since that episode aired, our DMs have been flooded. You told us that you are hungry for better energy, hungry for mental clarity, and hungry for the truth about supplements taking over your social media feeds. We are listening. Today, we are tackling the big three: cravings, creatine, and colostrum. Why are women suddenly drinking liquid gold? Is creatine just for bodybuilders, or is it the missing key to your brain health? And why do we crave what we crave? Dr. Stephanie is here to break down the science, bust the myths, and explain why her products that we love might just be the game changer your morning routine needs.
Or afternoon if you want better energy. Speaking from experience here.
Now let's get into the episode. Before we get back to today's conversation, I want to talk about something that hits most of us as we enter the premenopausal and menopausal years. That sudden, frustrating shift in how our bodies feel. We often talk about hot flashes, but we don't talk enough about the menopause middle. The stubborn bloating, the brain fog, and the fact that our digestion just seems to stall.
This isn't just in your head, it's in your microbiome. Trust me, I have worked for years to continually care for my gut health. As we age, our estrogen and progesterone levels drop, and we actually lose the diversity of the good bacteria in our gut. This dysbiosis leads to an increase in inflammatory bacteria, which is why we suddenly struggle with constipation, mood swings, and even sleep disturbances. That's why I want to introduce you to Relievance.
Relievance isn't just another fiber supplement. It was developed by Dr. Robert A. Gans, a nationally recognized board-certified gastroenterologist with over 30 years of clinical experience. Dr. Gans saw the limitations of standard fiber products and created this proprietary 8-fiber formula.
What makes Relievance different is the science of balance. It combines 8 different fibers, each selected for their specific viscosity and solubility. This allows the formula to dissolve gently and support your natural gut rhythm without the harsh gas or bloating often caused by single fiber supplements.
By increasing your fiber intake with a blended formula like Relievance, you're doing more than just staying regular. You're feeding the beneficial bacteria that help regulate your hormones, clear that menopause brain fog, and stabilize your energy levels. It's a tool to help fight the physiological effects of aging and reclaim your daily comfort.
It is third-party tested, gluten-free, and contains 0 artificial additives or fillers. It's just pure, clinically balanced support for a sensitive stomach. Sign me up.
If you're ready to target bloating at the source and support your microbiome through this transition, it's time to try the formula Dr. Gans developed for his own patients.
For your convenience, you can find Relievance Fiber right on Amazon or visit relievancefiber.com. Feel like yourself again with Relievance.
Hey everyone, if you're like me, January through May means cold and flu season. But this year, I'm ready. Besides the All Things Elderberry gummies my kids ask for every morning, I want to talk about something that is a non-negotiable in my fridge, the Everyday Elderberry Elixir from All Things Elderberry. They call it an elixir, not a syrup, and here's why. It's made with organic, farm-fresh Missouri elderberries, never dried. That gives it a light, uniquely juicy, and palatable consistency. It's not thick or overly sweet. And the difference it makes for me is huge. For me, a tablespoon anytime I feel that first little tickle in my throat or before a big event where I absolutely refuse to be sick. It either completely kicks symptoms to the curb or lessens them so fast. Even my oldest, Cora, is asking for it. I will never not have it. It's my daily defense. And who needs that defense more right now than our bride-to-be, Brooke?
Ooh, yes. Wedding season is basically a marathon. Between the bridal showers, the bachelorette trip to Florida, and all the main events, I don't have time to be run down. The thought of getting sick before my bachelorette trip, no thank you. I'm taking my elderberry elixir with me every morning, whether I'm at home or on the road. It's my little insurance policy, so I can fully enjoy this once-in-a-lifetime season without worry. It's literally for the mom who holds everything together and the bride who is trying to hold her wedding together.
That's right. Whether you're a busy parent, a traveler, or a bride prepping for the big day, you deserve this defense. Stop letting illness slow you down. Head over to allthingselderberry.com right now.
And for 15% off your very first order, use our special code GOLDIVY. That's GOLDIVY. Get the everyday elderberry elixir. It's the defense you deserve.
And now to this episode of the Ivy Unleashed podcast.
Welcome back to Ivy Unleashed. We have Dr. Stephanie back in the house, well requested. This is going to be an awesome episode. We are talking about creatine, colostrum, all of the women's health supplements that are really the buzz right now. And we have the perfect woman to dive into it. So Dr. Stephanie, welcome back to Ivy Unleashed.
I'm so happy to be back with you ladies.
We love your brain. We love your brain. We love you. It's so fun and so exciting to have an expert that is living it, everything. We're always talking about Dr. Stephanie, how she is the niche. She is a woman who is going through these things and literally in real time developing products that she knows she needs. And then she's in Target now. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. That was in between since the last time I've seen you ladies. That was a huge launch. We have our Colostrum and GLP Wonder, the natural GLP-1 booster, and our GLP-1 buddy in Target.
Yes.
Oh,
and
so
if you didn't hear her last episode on GLP-1s, it's so interesting to listen to and learn what is GLP-1, why is everybody wanting to take it, what does it do, what are the risks, all of that. So please go back and listen if you did not already.
Yeah. And if you want the benefits of it, your body naturally produces it. And so Dr. Stephanie's supplements help you aid in that production, which is mind-blowing and super cool. So everyone can get the benefits. Andrew and I have also started taking the supplements, and now we have that real-life testimony, which is amazing. But Dr. Stephanie, we're doing something new this season. Right off the bat of the episode, we want to leave people with value. So if people can only tune in for a few moments, a few minutes, what is something that you want to share with them? We're going to dive more into it in the episode.
Yep.
But if you could leave them with something right now, what would it be?
Yeah, I would say just following the outline of what we want to talk about today, 3 quick things. One, like you said, we all make our own GLP-1. And I think I was surprised. I was down in Texas the other day and the Uber driver's like, what's GLP-1? Because obviously I was talking about GLP-1 in the Uber. And I think still people don't understand. When you hear this Ozempic craze, Ozempic is GLP-1. So as you're getting more information on social media, you're seeing things about it, think of like that Ozempic is GLP-1. But number 2, creatine is so increasingly we're getting research that creatine is so beneficial for cognitive support, brain, memory, processing, focus. So I think that is a deep dive that everyone should learn about and when they have time.
Yeah. And I think a segment we're going to do at the end of this episode, since we've already had Dr. Stephanie on, instead of doing Unleashing Ivy, we're going to do questions from the audience because we have a lot of questions coming in about this, which is really exciting that you can answer all of these.
We'll see.
But what people are really wanting to know is creatine just another one of these fads, another one of these crazes, just like Ozempic, is this going to be the new thing that everybody's doing and everybody's focused on, and then it's just going to fade away again? What do you think about that?
I don't think so. I do think that I can appreciate that perspective because I think everything is like so cyclical, and it's like what's old is new and like where did creatine come from? But I actually now put creatine on the same level of like supplementation as magnesium. So creatine really is one of the most studied supplements of all time. And I think what is exciting and new about creatine is that, yes, we know it's very beneficial for muscle strength and muscle recovery, but now after enough time and studying of higher doses, we're seeing all of these other ancillary benefits for creatine. And that's kind of like GLP-1. It's like GLP-1 started as a diabetes medication, and then it moved on to an obesity medication for weight loss. And now it's heavily being studied for Alzheimer's disease as a neuroprotective agent. And so I like to say, obviously, the media runs with things that are sexy too, but I personally, as a healthcare provider, I think there is a lot of benefit to supplementing with creatine. So I think it's around to stay. It may lose some traction, but I still think it's important to take.
Yeah. Can we talk about what it actually is?
Yeah. So creatine, it essentially all of us make creatine. So if we look at like our muscle cells, especially, is the easiest thing to talk about. We have phosphocreatine in our muscles. So our liver makes some creatine. Our brain actually makes some creatine. We get creatine from our diet. It's not protein, but it is present in a lot of, like, as you'd expect, right? Steak, chicken. We see people who follow vegan diets or vegetarians actually don't get any dietary creatine. So it would be especially important for a vegan or vegetarian to supplement with creatine. But in our bodies, this phosphocreatine literally helps unload ATP, which is the energy currency of our cells, into muscle cells to give your muscles energy. And in the same way it does that to your muscle, it does that to your brain. So it can help with firing of neurons. Just think of like ATP is energy and it unloads one of those phosphates. It's like a carrier for it. So creatine, all things good, helps increase energy in essentially all of the cells in our body, but especially muscle.
I love it. Thanks for explaining it that way, because I remember like 7th grade biology going through this and thinking about this and think of something that gives you energy through your body and your brain at the same time. But what I'm thinking about, like in the 90s, everybody had these creatine jugs on their fridges, right? And it was the men that wanted to bulk up.
Yeah,
and it's the women it's still with strength training, Brooke and I, it drives us crazy because we're really pushing strength training for women. But women are still afraid of getting bulky, and creatine is one of those things that they see the bulky guys taking it, so they're afraid they will look like that.
Do you feel like you get that same response with protein?
Not as much.
Yeah.
I think it's become more normalized to hate your protein.
Yeah.
The benefits are being talked about in a way where it is more than just getting muscular.
Right.
It's energy. And so you can think that same way with creatine.
Or it's weight loss. It's like ditch the carbs, eat the protein for weight loss. So that became sexy. Protein became sexy, I feel.
And people can get it through their food and don't have to supplement.
Right. And I feel like if you throw like a picture of a Victoria's Secret model that's strength training on the screen, and you're like, she takes creatine, you're like, oh, that's not the perception that I have. And so that's why I kind of bring that up. I feel like people so quickly say like creatine is for bulking, but it's like, well, you could say that about protein too. And that's not necessarily the case. I think if I could like summarize, if we're looking at muscle, so like we'll talk about brain and other stuff here shortly, but if we're looking at muscle, like I like taking creatine before a workout because I get more out of my workout. It's like a cheat code. It's like you, especially on higher reps, like maybe I think the studies show not in like your first or second rep, but in your third, fourth, fifth rep, you're able to do more. And so you're getting more out of your workout, even in a smaller amount of time. So it's like you can really maximize your fitness results with creatine, building that muscle strength, but then also recovering faster because there's a generalized anti-inflammatory effect from creatine too.
Yeah. Like if you're so sore after workouts,
Yeah.
I think that's another like, interest.
I'm
to
going to
try
take
this.
some right now.
Yeah,
Do
here.
it.
You guys are making me. Yeah, what?
I already took a lot today.
Yeah, let's talk about that, Dr. Stephanie.
Yeah.
You came in this morning and you said, I've taken a lot of creatine. Why?
I've taken a lot of creatine.
Are you tired of the endless battle with cravings? Do you dream of managing your appetite without the hassle, the side effects, or the hefty price tag?
Then it's time to meet Dr. Stephanie. She's not just a doctor of pharmacy. She's a certified diabetes educator and a leading hormone expert. She listened to your struggles and formulated a gentle, natural solution, GLP Wonder.
GLP Wonder is a revolutionary supplement designed for an easier path to appetite control and hunger management. How? It works by combining powerful natural ingredients like areocitrin and green tea extract to naturally support your body's own GLP-1 levels. This signals fullness to your brain, curbs those persistent cravings, and even helps fight insulin spikes, that stubborn, fat-storing hormone.
The result? Reduced hunger, better appetite control, and a more natural way to stay on track with your diet and goals. It's effective, it's safe, and it's affordable. Just 1 capsule per day for powerful results.
GLP Wonder is now easier than ever to find. Look for Dr. Stephanie's GLP Wonder at Walgreens, CVS, and Walmart, And we are thrilled to announce that you can now find it in Target stores nationwide.
Stop waiting and start winning the fight against cravings today. Find your nearest store, or to learn more and shop the full Dr. Stephanie's collection, visit drstephanies.com. And for a limited time, use code GOLDIVY30 for 30% off all Dr. Stephanie products at drstephanies.com.
So I think like the standard norm that most people take, except those bulky bodybuilder guys, at the gym. The standard recommended dose is about 5 grams a day, which we make, I think it's like 1 to 2 grams a day, and then you can get 1 or so gram in your diet if you're eating meat. But 5 grams is really that dose that helps over time, over like 2 to 3 weeks, saturate your muscle stores of creatine. 95% of our creatine's in our muscle, 5% of creatine is in our brain and heart and other places. And so what we'll talk about is you really do need to get to a higher dose to cross the blood-brain barrier, which you can, but your brain is kind of resistant to utilizing that creatine. So the studies show that at like 10, 15, 20, 25 grams of creatine, you can negate the effects of a bad night's sleep. So what these studies are showing is that in a severely sleep-deprived individual, think me, think new moms, think stress, like all the things. It can just like counteract that brain fog, I would call it. So it helps within a few hours of taking that high dose, you're immediately getting some of the benefits and saturating the brain receptors for helping that firing. And I just like to say it's like negating, like I said, the brain fog. So like another great example, I was speaking at MomCon, which is exactly what it sounds like. It was a conference of thousands of moms in Orlando. And that night too, it's like I slept 4 hours, but I'm like walking in taking 20 grams of creatine. And I think you can really, it's not a long-term solution to poor sleep, of course, but like in those instances where you have a really bad night's sleep, I think it can help you more effectively than like a caffeine where you're getting the peak and crash.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that because for our listeners who have been listening for a while, they know that me and caffeine, we have a relationship.
Yes.
A relationship that I'm trying to break up with.
Yes.
Not necessarily break up, but just healthier. Like I don't want to have such a hard reliance on it.
I know.
And I've always been after supplements of like that don't have caffeine.
Yes.
To try and help break that. And more so the crash and the peak that you're talking about of like feeling, and then an hour later, I'm like a zombie.
Yes.
And so these two products here, if you're not watching on YouTube, which I highly recommend you do, but I started these two. So we got the GLP-1.
Why wouldn't you? And we can see you beautiful ladies. Like I would watch on YouTube.
Okay, fair.
Tune
in.
If you haven't seen Dr. Stephanie is beautiful.
She is beautiful. But these two, so I've been taking the GLP-1 Buddy. I'm not on a GLP-1, but for these ingredients that I think everyone can and maybe should be taking. So like we've been talking about the creatine. Also there's collagen. There's electrolytes. So I've completely switched from spending so much money on just electrolytes to now getting so much bang for my buck in this one powder. It's amazing. But also digestive enzymes. So all my gut health girlies, listen up. And then vitamins.
Yes.
And then the superfood energy. So these together. The Superfruit Energy has B vitamins, which help with energy. And then the ADP. You have coined this.
Yeah.
Elevate ADP. Let's talk about that because these together have made such a difference. I have literally like half my caffeine. I have so much natural energy. My mood is better.
Let's go.
Like I
got to get in on
I'm
this
obsessed
routine.
with these. So thank you.
Thank you for trusting me and trying them. But I think creatine is like hugely beneficial for energy, which is why I take it in the morning too. I think some people, of course, like, and let's dive into that, but like take it at the same time every day or try to time it around your workout, which for me really varies. So I'm like consistently like, I'm just going to take it in the morning, regardless of when I'm going to work out that day, regardless of when I'm going to eat, but especially pairing it with electrolytes can really help with the absorption and the utility of getting the creatine and where it needs to go.
And one thing, can I just say something quick? So I'm notorious for like, I need caffeine right when I wake out of bed. Like I look forward to that cup of coffee. Same. I know it's not good for me. I know it doesn't help with my energy naturally, but having this, I'm now like, do I really need a coffee yet?
Yeah.
I'm like, who am I?
Yes.
I just needed to put that in there.
Yeah. But like even this morning, right? Like
Yeah.
I did a hot yoga class this morning, and my non-negotiable is like, okay, I did 3 scoops of creatine, and then I took one later when I got home, which is 15 grams. And then I have my coffee, but I find like by the time I got to yoga, like I hardly really drank my coffee, you know? You're like, okay, I'm awake, I'm doing great. But it's really a well-rounded supplement. And of course, I coined it GLP-1 Buddy because in my practice, like my whole experience was managing a lot of patients who took GLP-1, whether that was for diabetes or obesity, and you see all the side effects and you see some of the deficiencies of people that are like, I feel terrible while I'm on my GLP-1, but you see so many great results too. So this is really a way to try to like mitigate some of those side effects, why you're not feeling so great, but it is great for everyone. And I get that feedback so often. It's like, I'm not on a GLP-1, but can I take this? Absolutely. Maybe someday I'll rename it so that you feel more confident doing that. But this Superfruit Energy, this is a really, fun product near and dear to my heart too, because I do also I love caffeine. And when I was pregnant and when I was nursing for both of my girls, it's like, what can I take to help give me some energy? Now I will say if I was pregnant, I would consider doing creatine, but this Elevate TP is a branded ingredient that does have some clinical studies showing, again, we're talking about ATP, the energy currency of our cell. And don't ask me to draw the Krebs cycle that you memorize when you're like in college and never have to regurgitate. I don't know why I was thinking about the Krebs cycle, but I was like, don't ask me any more questions about ATP.
Brain works.
It just it increases ATP. Okay. But that's especially helpful for fighting generalized fatigue, but also, again, with workout recovery. And so I think if you're doing heavy lifting or a high intensity workout too, especially, that can be helpful after.
Yeah, I got to the point where I was like, I want to fix why I don't have energy. So instead of having caffeine that just blocks your brain from saying the adenosine of, hey, I'm tired, it's like, let me actually go to the source.
Yes.
And help my body naturally produce that energy.
Amen. And I, in a long-winded way, kind of talked about creatine benefiting the brain. But I think one of my take-home messages, if you're listening and you're considering maybe going on a higher dose of creatine, because again, to really get the cognitive benefits, you have to go over 10 grams. That's where they see it can effectively penetrate the blood-brain barrier. Creatine is super effective for those individuals who are metabolically stressed. So that's why in a state of sleep deprivation, high stress environment, metabolic dysregulation, you see the most benefits of supplementing high dose creatine in those individuals. So if you have live a super chaotic lifestyle, you're not sleeping well, I think this could be something foundational to layer in.
Yeah. Now, what about the amount of creatine in the GLP-1 Buddy? Do you feel like that's enough, or people could supplement on top of this?
I would recommend, it depends what you're using it for, right? This for me is enough definitely to help with that lean muscle preservation, help building that muscle strength, which is absolutely imperative if you're on a GLP-1 medication. And as you age, right? As you age, you're experiencing what you call sarcopenic obesity, or not even obesity, but you're losing muscle. And because your hormones are shifting as we get older, God bless, you're gaining more fat. And so that ratio of muscle to fat is declining. And that is one of the reasons our metabolism slow. So if you can counteract that with some of the creatine, it's especially beneficial. But I would additionally even consider taking 2 of those a day if you're looking for cognitive benefits. There's nothing in here that you can't double up on that's unsafe. There are fat-soluble vitamins, but they're still within the recommended daily limits of what you can tolerate.
Okay, last question about creatine before we move on to colostrum is, are there any risks of having too much creatine? Is there a limit we should watch out for? Can we just go crazy off the rails with this, or what's
such a great question. And when I think of safety concerns, my mind goes right to kidney, but I'll say probably a concern that I hear in social media is what about bloating? I don't want to have water retention, because sometimes you can see water retention with this, but it is transient. So with more time, you do see that some of the water retention can go down, but that also, it increases intracellular hydration. So as the creatine is being used, it can basically explain your cells with fluid. That is dose dependent too. So if you're listening and you don't take creatine, don't probably just start right on a 20-gram dose. And I think that was the old recommendation of, you're doing bodybuilding and you want to just completely load up. That can cause you some GI distress, and that can cause you more bloating. And the bloating is reversible. So don't not try it because you're scared of that. As another caveat. So I would say starting with 5 and then increasing by like 5 gram increments would be best practice. I definitely have looked into kidney function, right, being a concern. So you want to make sure that you are staying hydrated if you take creatine. And I think something that surprises most people that this isn't necessarily harmful to the kidney, but it can give you a false elevation in some markers of declined kidney function. So basically, if you go to the doctor, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but they'll check your serum creatinine levels, right? They use that level because it tells are your kidneys filtering this creatinine from your body. If the creatinine's rising, it's like, oh, your kidneys aren't filtering that. Maybe your kidneys aren't functioning properly. So they use that level to do a calculation of what your kidney function is. Creatine can elevate your serum creatinine, but not because your kidneys aren't working. It's because you're taking a ton of creatine. So it's good to have your doctor know, like my husband and I, he went through that. Like his serum creatinine was high and they're like, oh my gosh, your kidney function's bad. And he's like, well, I'm taking 20 grams of creatine. So really the best practice is holding it a week or two before your lab to have a proper evaluation of like what truly is your kidney function. But as far as like being harmful to your kidneys, no, but of course, make sure you're staying hydrated.
Okay. Good to know. Yes. Okay. Let's switch to colostrum, another C that is very popular right now. For those listening who have no idea what colostrum is, or maybe have heard about it and are like, tell me more.
Yeah.
Let's give them the lowdown of just first, what is it?
Yes. Colostrum is the first food that all mammals make. So if you've had a baby, you probably have seen, or if you were breastfeeding, colostrum come out. But all mammals, sheep, cows, us, we make this essentially liquid gold. And it's called liquid gold because when colostrum comes out, when you're first breastfeeding for the first 24 to 72 hours, it is so rich and dense in nutrients. There's fatty acids in there. There's immunoglobulins in there. There's all of these antioxidants and wonderful growth hormones that really nourish your baby. Now, what's really interesting, and I think still there's over 5,000 studies that colostrum is not only good just for newborn babies, but can also have profound benefits for adults.
I love it. And guess what? Dr. Stephanie makes colostrum.
I make colostrum. I mean, I don't physically make colostrum. We have a colostrum product.
And it's in Target. Well, I mean, if you didn't listen to the last episode, she's in a lot of different stores. And I really like to tell people now that I know this. This is like my new fun fact. CVS. You are in CVS, which is like the best case scenario for a supplement you take because they require third-party testing. You can't just put anything on the shelf.
Yes.
And another fun fact about Dr. Stephanie is that she will take things off the shelf and test them herself and see how other supplement brands are putting false claims on their box. So this is who we're talking to right now. And I think it's really important. It makes me feel like I can trust you even more.
Yeah.
And I'm excited that you're in more stores because we need brands that have this type of integrity.
Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciate that comment because I think, it's when you look at the sea of supplements, so many of them are there because they have like celebrity backed endorsements or just they have great marketing or they have multi-billion-dollar marketing budgets that they have all these fake UGC testimonials and it's just really hard to believe. And I think what I feel so proud of and like what I'm motivated by is that these retailers have invested in us as a brand, right? Like they're like, okay, you've got here because simply you just have good formulas and people are following you. And my goal for this next year is really just to provide value in the community on healthcare because I want you to know that anything that Dr. Stephanie makes is going to be third-party tested. Like you said, it's going to be backed by clinical research and not just the ingredient, but the dose that you're taking. And creatine is one of those that is so adulterated, mislabeled. Like you really have to know, am I getting 5 grams of creatine? Like, is anyone third party testing this? And then you have just different dosage forms. Like gummies may be better than nothing, but you're really not getting the best absorption of creatine in a gummy probably. But colostrum, our colostrum is really special. Like I said, colostrum is the first milk that all mammals make. But you think about supply chain of that. So where does our colostrum come from? Where does all the colostrum that you see out in the supplement market come from? It comes from cows, right? Okay. Sometimes comes from sheep, which is interesting because sheep colostrum is actually more biosimilar to human colostrum. And so there's a desirable effect there. However, the bad thing about, well, not bad, but the not great thing about cow colostrum is it isn't a total match to human colostrum. So about half of that cow colostrum has proteins, peptides that your body doesn't recognize. And that can actually create a pro-inflammatory response. So there's a lot of women, even like myself, that I'm like, I can't take colostrum because I get really bad gas, stomach upset. It's actually worsening inflammation in my gut. Our colostrum, we have partnered with Myolac, which is a company that uses AI technology to filter the colostrum so that it's only containing the glycoproteins and peptides that match human colostrum. Ooh. So it's essentially like purified and biosimilar, about 95% biosimilar to human colostrum, so that your body really recognizes it and can utilize it.
And what are some of the benefits of colostrum? Why are people obsessed with it right now?
Welcome back to the moment of pause, Ivy Unleashed listeners. You know Brooke and I are always talking about our love for coffee, but lately I've been craving something simpler, more ritualistic.
I'm right there with you, Dre. The truth is, running this podcast, running our lives, it's a beautiful chaos, but our nervous systems are calling. I've been trying to lean into small, intentional moments, especially around my midday pick-me-up.
Me too, and that's why I'm so obsessed with what our 2-time guest, the incredible Dr. Neetha Bhushan, has created. Chai tonics.
Neetha's story alone is so moving. After facing immense loss and becoming a busy mama, she didn't just want a chai that tasted good. She wanted one that healed. She took the wisdom of her childhood, the power of ancient Ayurveda, and created these instant superfood lattes to support the modern woman. It's her permission to pause in tea form.
Seriously, it's the instant ritual we all need. I have been absolutely living on the Focus Flow chai. It's my ultimate wake-up call. It's packed with brain-boosting adaptogens like lion's mane and brahmi for clean energy and calm focus. No crash, just mental stamina. It helps me tackle the editing and the show notes with total clarity.
And I have been making a calm moment midday for balance with the gorgeous Pink Rose Ritual Chai. It's instantly soothing, crushed rose petals, ashwagandha, shatavari. It's nervous system support, stress relief, and just the most beautiful moment of self-care. It reminds me to breathe and to come back home to myself.
I also need more of that. It's truly your chai upgraded. Organic superfoods, vegan, naturally sweetened. You just add water and sip slow. Chai Tonics was crafted for the woman who craves ritual but doesn't always have the time.
It's time to tend to yourself, queen, and they even have a quiz on the website to match you with the perfect blend for your lifestyle.
Stop running on empty. It's time to try this gorgeous line of teas. We highly recommend you commit to the journey with a month's package.
Visit chaitonics.com today to join us in slowing down to enjoy these beautiful chai teas.
And as Neetha would say, go get your ritual, love. If you've listened to the podcast for a while, you know I used to be the biggest skeptic about supplements. I thought, I can definitely get everything I need from food. But then I started to realize that high-quality, clean supplements weren't about replacing a healthy diet. They were about optimizing my health in a way I never thought possible. For instance, I discovered what so many women eventually do. I was deficient in magnesium. Now that it's part of my routine, I'm sleeping better and I feel absolutely amazing. It made me realize that quality matters more than anything.
When it comes to taking supplements, ingredient integrity is a must for us both, and that's why we trust Smidge. Smidge offers a small line of foundational supplements, core nutrients, including 100% whole food vitamins, and digestive support for people who prioritize real food but know even the best diets have gaps. They obsess over ingredient integrity, crafting minimal, clean products with zero additives and rich nutrients meticulously sourced from around the world. We both love Smidge's magnesium, but with my chronic gut health issues, Smidge's digestive support is my tried and true. I use their digestive enzymes every single day before meals, and it has been a game changer in post-meal bloat, fatigue, and overall digestion for me. If you have any digestive issues, their enzymes, including the original and HCl plus enzymes, are a must try.
Smidge just dropped some incredible whole food supplements that we've been loving. First up, their Kakadu Plum. Most vitamin C supplements are just mass-produced synthetic chemicals, but this is the real deal from Australia. It's pure, whole food vitamin C that your body actually knows how to use for glowing skin and a rock-solid immune system.
I'm also obsessed with their Australian emu oil. You won't find this at a typical health store. It's the best source of vitamin K2, MK4, which is a total game changer for women's bone and heart health. While plant-based K2 is hard for your body to process, Smidge's emu oil is already pre-converted, so your body absorbs it instantly.
So, if you want a brand that is truly backed by research, derived from sustainable principles, and only wants to provide you with the freshest, highest quality nutrients, it's Smidge.
Head over to getsmidge.com to check out their magnesium, emu oil, Kakadu plum, and their fantastic digestive enzymes. And don't forget to use our code GOLDIV10 at checkout for 10% off.
Biggest one is gut health, right? Especially when you look at the space of leaky gut syndrome. And why is that? Well, whether you're a newborn or an adult taking colostrum, but especially like newborns are born with permeable gut membranes. And literally what colostrum does is it seals those barriers. And it can do that in us. So even if you weren't breastfed as an infant and didn't get the colostrum, you can still get those wonderful benefits now. But it can seal our gut. It can seal mucous membranes. And that's why it's also so effective for immunity. I think this is interesting, so I want to say it on your podcast, but I'm not promoting this in context with our product. But if you just listen to some general information about colostrum, there are some studies that show it's 3 times more effective than the flu shot at preventing the flu.
Wow.
Colostrum is lowering inflammation. It's helping seal up those barriers. And it essentially, like, I would call it fortifies your immune system, giving you those growth factors. So you're getting also regeneration of some of your tissue and that tissue repair. So they work really well together. Great question.
Okay. What about
New product idea.
what about cravings? Because I know when our gut is off. All right. So for right now, I am treating SIBO. And so I'll have like these crazy cravings. And I know it's the bad, quote unquote, bad bacteria. So I have dysbiosis. So too much bad bacteria, right? Our gut, for those listening, should be a mix of good and bad. And I've got a little too much bad. And so they feed off of sugar.
Right.
So I always have those cravings.
Yeah.
So I'd love just to talk about that for women who are like, how do I help with these crazy cravings? We've heard protein, water, but what would you say, being you and having your brilliant mind?
Oh man, I think it's so hard to have just one answer to that. And you just said one of them, in that I think dehydration is actually an incredibly, it's not given enough credit. Like if you're hungry and you just drink, especially though it's like you want something sweet because you are craving something, that's where like I love having a flavored electrolyte, but good for you option. And after I chug one of these, because I'm so hungry, it just like settles that and calms that, and it gives me that little bit of a sweet fix. What I think a lot of people don't realize too is that, like, of course we can talk more about GLP-1, but it's a blood sugar dysregulation too, and an insulin dysregulation. And we talked about that a lot last time. But again, remember everyone to think of this outside of just the context of diabetes, and really looking at the high glycemic foods and how they're causing inflammation in our system and how they're causing this feedback loop. It's like you eat carbs and sugar, that increases insulin. Insulin is a fat storing hormone. Insulin increases inflammation. Insulin also, as it's dropping, then makes you crave more sugar, and your blood sugar can actually dip a little lower than normal. And that's when you really go into that like vicious craving. And then you eat more sugar to get out of it. And you can see how it really becomes a vicious cycle of fat storage and cravings. Mm-hmm. So I think really paying attention to carbohydrate and sugar consumption is huge. If you are hungry 3 to 4 hours after eating, you probably didn't get enough protein at your meal, and you guys preach that more than anyone, right? And you understand that. But I think, that's hard. It's hard to do, and it's hard to hit those goals, but it does make a difference, and it makes a difference more truly than any supplement that you're ever going to take. Like, you have to pay attention to what you're eating, and I think you have to know what is your baseline. Like, I think people are overestimating or underestimating what they're eating. They're underestimating the protein. They're overestimating or underestimating, I'm eating a handful of nuts, or I'm grazing, or like I don't need to count that little thing. But it's like, 200 to 300 calories a day makes a difference. And as some of that is sugar, the type of nutrient counts in your cravings.
So for someone who feels like they're stuck on that loop, would you recommend they start tracking their protein? Would you recommend they start with the good old GLP buddy? Like, what advice would you give someone who's like, I just need one thing to do because I am stuck on that hamster wheel?
I would, one thing. We'll start GLP Wonder for sure. Because I think sometimes the lifestyle changes can be the hardest. And if you implement something that makes them a little bit easier, you can plant like a seed of hope in somebody. And this seed of hope and seeing I'm a little less hungry today can create such a powerful snowball effect that like one day of having less cravings makes you believe. And then the next day you're like, I'm going to take GLP Wonder again. And then the next day you're like, okay, I'm going to have a little more water today, or I'm going to add in something else. Or the next day, right, baby steps, like I'm going to tackle my sleep. So I think it's like picking a couple things at a time, because it's easy to get overwhelmed in this world of everything that you should do.
We talked last time about the food noise, right?
Yeah.
And this is just one of those things, like the people that are listening, it's not like this is your first time trying to change something.
Yeah.
You have struggled with sugar intake for decades, like me. I'm talking about myself, okay? You've struggled with this where you're craving the thing, you're impulsive, you're grabbing it, and then you're back in that loop. And so I love that you said where this is something to give you support where, okay, I keep saying I'm going to do this thing or change this thing, and there's no shame in it. We all struggle with something. There's something in our health that we keep not doing. We say we're going to change in the new year. We try for a couple weeks, and then we don't, right? Yeah. And so I love how you said that, like, there's no shame in admitting, like, this is something I struggle with every day. There's so much food noise, and if I need a little bit of help, I can focus on my hydration. I can focus on taking GLP Wonder to get some help that's natural. Yes. And it's going to give you kind of that like reduction of the food noise, because it can be so loud.
It's not like GLP Wonder, right? To recap, increases your body's own production of GLP-1 by 22%. So it helps suppress some of those cravings, suppress some of the appetite, gives you that gentle boost in GLP-1, but it's not a medication. So I think, if you're someone considering a medication, it may be a great option for you. Like, we have seen patients that have struggled with their weight their entire life. And like, this is absolutely nothing short of a magic bullet to help them achieve their goals and feel good in their body. But I think a lot of people still are like, I don't want to jump to that. And even maybe a little bit of a tangent, like I feel like I'm seeing a lot more microdosing GLP-1 now, right? Mm-hmm. Like even on stream TV ads, Noom just had one, microdosing. And I actually went through the questionnaire and filled it out because I want to know, like, what are you recommending to people? And it's super interesting. They came up with a recommendation for Victoza, which probably nobody knows because Victoza was approved as a diabetes medication. And it is the lowest starting dose of a daily GLP-1 injection called Victoza. That was like, this brings me back to endocrinology years. But, really interesting. And I think I would say I'm not scared of like pushing anyone to a medication if they're the right candidate. Mm-hmm. And yes, while GLP-1s are intended to be lifelong therapy, I have seen many cases that it's like people are able to lose some of the weight, keep the weight off, as long as during that rewiring of their lifestyle, rewiring of their brain circuitry, they are implementing all of those foundational habits: protein, weightlifting, good sleep, etc.
Yeah. And we talk a lot about the GLP-1 the first episode that you were on. And so for those of you who haven't heard that one, highly recommend go back and listen. But today we've been talking about the Buddy and now we've brought up the Wonder. So can you talk about just the difference and if people should have both together? And you just bring up the Wonder. So I want to make sure people know exactly what we're talking about.
Absolutely. Great question. So my GLP Wonder and my GLP-1 Buddy sit next to each other too. And GLP Wonder was my super exciting way of like GLP-1. Right? Like really very marketing of me, and I'm not very good at marketing, but here we are. GLP Wonder is for everyone looking to naturally boost their GLP-1. I don't want to call it like an alternative to Ozempic, but it basically is trying to give you some of the benefits of a GLP-1 medication to reduce appetite, reduce cravings. This is, after the new year, our resolutions is a great time to embark on that, and especially speaking for myself, like women 40 plus, I'm not 40 yet, but I'm almost 40. You're going to the gym in the new year with your husband and he's following the same workout routine and he's following the same diet and he's just like shedding the pounds. And you're like, what? Why am I not losing all the weight like you are? And part of that is our cortisol is high, our estrogen and progesterone are dropping, our muscle to fat ratio is lower, so we're burning less calories at rest. And I think to have an extra boost for women, when you're trying to go through that lifestyle change and you're starting to see the weight loss and now your leptin hormones are going down and you're so hungry and your ghrelin is high, it's like your hormones are all working against you to keep losing weight. And so I think it's a great option. Like GLP Wonder can help you push through some of those plateaus. GLP-1 Buddy, I designed for someone on a GLP-1 medication to help, like I said, mitigate those side effects, really feel good while they're on their therapy. We know GLP-1 medications can cause some nutrient deficiencies. Part of that is because the medication does delay how food moves through your stomach, so it can change the absorption of some of our fat-soluble vitamins, vitamin D, magnesium, minerals, but also you're eating so much less that some people, it's like really crushing their appetite, so they're not getting enough protein, right? So pairing this with protein is great, but fat-soluble vitamins, digestive enzymes, helps keep that gut balance, helps keep you hydrated. Just like I said, cravings, hydration is a huge thing. And we actually see people on GLP-1s can lose some of that thirst reflex. So not only you're not hungry, but you're not drinking enough water. So a comprehensive approach to support your GLP-1 journey. Yeah. So Wonders to boost GLP-1, GLP-1 Buddy, that's your buddy when you're on a GLP-1 med.
I love too that you talk about lifestyle changes in the midst of this, that this isn't just a one solution to everything.
No.
Like you do have to,
whether or not you want to hear that.
Yeah. And it's tricky because it's changing, your food cravings, right? We think is such a natural thing.
Yes.
But then we're also doing things that are just sabotaging them and making it like this vicious cycle we were just talking about. And so I love that this is part of what we do, that you have these to lean on, and also that your goal setting, you're thinking about actually putting protein in your body. You're actually thinking about sleep. You're thinking about getting the water into your body. And all of these things are so important along with what you're taking. So these are things to help you out in the midst of making these lifestyle changes. It is not a fix, right? It is to come along in the midst of what you're doing right before you go to the gym and right after when you're hydrating again, to have the electrolytes after and before. I think it's so great that you talk about that, how this adds into that routine, because you can't not go to yoga or strength training or drink the water or eat the protein. Like you have to eat.
Yes.
And it's important because you need to get all your nutrients along with what you're providing.
Yes. You have to eat. You have to feel your body. And especially like a woman in your cycle, right? Like here's your follicular phase, your ovulation, and then your luteal phase. Like you can't just starve yourself. Your hormones are going to go.
Yeah. It makes it worse.
Right. HELL. So you have to eat and try to eat nutrient-dense foods during your cycle.
As you're both speaking, I'm like, and this is why health and wellness can be very overwhelming.
Well, that's why it's like you have to pick a couple things. Otherwise, you can't change the world.
Yeah. And just
one day.
speaking from experience, because I am not like when Brooke and I started this business, I'm like, I'm not going to be taking all these supplements. I don't want, whatever.
Yep.
And now I'm in a place where I need to. I'm deficient in magnesium. So I started with one thing, and it was magnesium, and it was a game changer. And now I'm like, okay, I see that taking a pill is not the devil. Like I was like so against it, but it was like, my sleep's better. I manage stress better. I stopped losing hair as much. Like I think it just kind of evened everything out.
Yeah.
And then now I'm taking the colostrum, and I'm like, okay, I want my hair to grow back. I want to feel better. And I know the benefits of it now. And so I think easing into this is so important because it can be so overwhelming. And especially if you're like me and you've got like, I don't want to buy anything and I don't want to have to take anything. It's just putting it into your routine and then just noticing one at a time how good you can feel. Because that's the ultimate goal, is to feel better.
You just, as you were saying that, led me to, maybe I should save this for my like takeaway recommendation for you guys, but you don't know what you don't know. Last time I was here, I told you this. I had just had like a functional health report and labs done, which blows my mind that like if I call my OB or general doctor, like you don't need that lab. And so I think you have the emergence of all these companies doing online lab work. And with that comes the good and the bad. But I think it's great for you to help like understand and take your health into your own hands. My magnesium was low. My zinc was critically low.
Oh.
For the first time ever, I had presence of antibodies for like Hashimoto's. And now my thyroid is like back in the optimized range. But I had taken magnesium on and off. And you guys asked like, what's your stack, Dr. Stephanie? And I'm like, on and off magnesium, So I restarted. I take magnesium bisglycinate at night. I love my Thorne brand. That's like one of my favorite brands. If it's something that I don't make, I trust them.
And we trust Smidge. We just got to throw that in there.
And Smidge, yep, absolutely. I have looked into that. They're amazing as well. So that's a great brand to try. But I started a zinc supplement. I started a selenium supplement, 200 micrograms a day, that has great evidence for thyroid health. And I think to your point of, I don't want to like take medications or I don't want to take supplements. And I think that's valid. And like you should know what your baseline is so you can, everyone is different. Like I'm going to benefit differently from this supplement than you are if your baseline level is low and deficient. And unfortunately, we don't get a lot of these things from today's diet. And we have a lot of things in our world that bleed toxins into our life. And so I think it's important to support with lifestyle and with supplements to like support our detox pathways. But it's eye-opening.
Something we don't talk about enough is the quality of food. Like
I know.
You're eating fruits and vegetables, yes. And sure, you're trying organic, but it's like the quality of our soil is something that is depleting the nutrients in the food. And so it's such a tricky thing because you don't want to take supplements. You want to get it from food, but it's not as bioavailable as it used to be. So it's just...
It's like food is medicine, but also...
Yeah.
I know.
Check your numbers.
I know.
Well, for me, I have taken so many supplements and so many at one time that both of these products that I'm touching, for those listening, the GLP Buddy and the Superfruit Energy, they have so many things I was taking just in one.
Yeah.
And so that has saved time and energy. Like you make it so less overwhelming, even just the way you explain things.
Yep.
So thank you. So I just want to put that little plug. There's so many questions we could ask you, because it can be very overwhelming. We talk about supplements and your perspective. What I love about you is both Eastern and Western medicine, right? We're talking about the lifestyle habits and the supplements and the medication. So if we have these questions, our listeners have 1,000 more. And we took some questions from them. We asked the audience. So this is going to be our rapid fire questions from the audience segment that we're really excited.
Awesome.
Are you ready, Dr. Stephanie?
I don't know. We're going to find out.
Will you just set this over there? Okay. First question for creatine, powdered versus gummy, thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think there's a scale. I do think powdered is the best. I think powdered is the best for absorption and utility in the body, and creatine monohydrate is the most studied, but there is a creatine like micronized form that can help. It's very, very fine powder that's supposed to help reduce some of the bloating. However, I think my beef with the gummies is that there has been studies that have came out on the gummies, and a lot of them are underdosed and don't contain what they say they contain on the label. And the gummy process uses a very high heat formulation. And so sometimes the creatine becomes denatured in that process. However, if you're not someone that's taking creatine and you're not ready to take this like unflavored creatine powder, which you can't taste, by the way, like I can't take collagen. I hate taking collagen, but I like it in this. But the creatine mix is great. Like you just can't tell it's there. The gummies are a great segue to give you some creatine in your diet. So I'm not like, they're not bad. I'm just saying if you're going to pick the most effective form, I would say powder.
Yeah. Best, better.
Yeah.
Better, best.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. This question's funny. Food cravings. Eating like a freaking psycho the day after drinking. What's up with that?
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, so many things, right? Part of it is your brain is dysregulated, literally. Like your GABA is so much lower. And that also means your cortisol is higher. And that cortisol increases your ghrelin hunger hormone. So part of it is through your brain pathway. But truly, because your cortisol, because your ghrelin is elevated, that makes you more hungry. Also, you are more insulin resistant in that state in the same way as if you're sleep deprived. So when you do eat food, you're having more insulin and blood sugar swings than you would otherwise.
Great.
What about before your period?
Same, you're more insulin resistant in your luteal phase, which is why you have to be cognizant of, avoiding or reducing high glycemic index foods during that time period.
It's so hard because like that's all you want.
That's all you want. And so that's a good point. Like where you're talking about earlier, don't starve yourself either. It's like you actually need to eat more probably during that luteal phase because of all the things going on in your body, trying to shed that endometrial lining. But the quality of the food really needs to be there. So, sweet potatoes, if you're going to have carbs, like really trying to be mindful of that because you're insulin resistant, you're going to have more fat storage from any insulin swings.
All right. What are the supplements we should actually be taking in our 30s and in our 40s?
Well, again, I think that's tailored to everyone. So I think I'm a huge proponent. If you're going to spend a few $100s on anything healthcare related at the beginning of the year, I would do a personalized test of your lab panels, which includes magnesium, vitamin D, vitamin B. What are your liver enzymes? What's your kidneys? What's your thyroid? Like really having an understanding there. Having said that, I do think magnesium, I do think creatine, vitamin D3 mixed with K2, which is what I take. I think those are hands down non-negotiables. And I also think it depends on your goals. So if you're looking to support, bone health, which I think is becoming a more sexy conversation too, that we have to start thinking about in our 20s and 30s, is this critical decade of like 35 to 50 and setting ourselves up for longevity. But again, if you have any specific concerns like liver health, skin health, I love glutathione. I don't know. Okay. You have to tailor it. But I love magnesium. I love creatine. I think everyone would benefit from GLP-1 too.
Mm-hmm. All right. For sugar cravings in the 40s, why is it such a huge spike of wanting sugar as you get older?
Well, part of it is insulin resistance. As you get older, your estrogen is declining, your progesterone are declining. That comes pro-inflammation. That comes, you're less able to handle spikes in cortisol and you're less able to handle high glucose, high carbohydrate foods like you used to. So, and you're not sleeping as well because those hormone changes can cause insomnia. So it's really kind of like a snowball effect and it is hard sometimes to identify what is the root cause of it. But I think hormone dysregulation is the root cause. It just leads to so many different imbalances.
Being a woman is so fun.
Yeah, I'd love to do an episode on like, again, hormone replacement therapy and like really diving into some of there's a lot of meat on the bone around that. But I think if you're a woman over 40, every woman over 40 should have a meeting with a physician or with a healthcare provider that is informed about HRT and to be able to make an educated decision about whether it's right or not for them. But I think everyone should have a consult and understand it.
Okay, cool. All right.
Because they see that like replacing estrogen and progesterone or supporting healthy levels of that is single-handedly like the most effective way to maintain metabolic health and to reduce fat storage, not just GLP-1.
I love it. Okay, 2 more questions. One's about fiber. She says, I know natural fiber from foods is best, but what about like high fiber tortillas? Does this still have the same health benefits or is it a scam?
I struggle with fiber and some of the recommendations around fiber. I'm one of the individuals that, like, if I supplement with fiber or take foods that have a lot of fiber, I get stomach distress and gas. And so I have a hard time staying consistent with it because that sucks and that's a hard hump to get over. So I don't necessarily think it's a scam, but I think you have to holistically look at the food label, because sometimes in efforts of like adding in the fiber, they're adding in other things like sugar alcohols, or you're seeing, high sodium. So I think if it's just adding in some fiber, that's great. But to truly counteract some of the carbohydrates of what you're eating, it has to be over 5 grams of fiber. So if I put my diabetes educator dietitian hat on, and you're a person in front of me calculating insulin dose, which is very serious, and you're calculating how many carbohydrates you eat, you can actually subtract from the carbohydrate count the number of grams of fiber that are in that food. So if it's 10 grams of carbs, 5 grams of fiber, you actually dose insulin for 5 grams of carbs. So it truly does directly negate some of the impact of that food you're having.
Ooh, that's a
great answer.
Okay. All right, last question. It's kind of similar to the creatine question, but best way to get creatine and colostrum, which method? Powder or pills?
Well, you have to take, I love this question, right? Because you have to take a very high dose of both, with a caveat. Creatine, 5 grams at minimum. You can only fit about 700 milligrams of powder in one capsule. And that's a big capsule. So you would be taking 6-7 capsules of creatine for it to make a difference for you. So creatine really is best in a drink mix. Colostrum, this is interesting because colostrum, historically, you need at least 1, most likely 2 grams of colostrum to get those benefits. Remember, because this is cow colostrum, we need to take all of it, and so much of it, our body doesn't absorb and recognize it as well as human colostrum. With my Dr. Stephanie's colostrum, the purified colostrum, it is effective at 100 milligrams. And so that's why you can take this in a 1 little baby capsule every day and still get the benefits of a heaping scoop of colostrum, because we've gotten rid of all the pro-inflammatory peptides and really concentrated it. And in the clinical studies, it shows it has 7 times the benefits of traditional bovine colostrum.
Wow.
So that's really cool.
Oh my
and Lemmy and Kim Kardashian just launched a colostrum line too. So I was like, maybe all ships rise and more people will be hearing about colostrum everywhere. But truly, Dr. Stephanie's colostrum is purified and great for you.
And isn't
just
there
so easy
in a
to
gummy
take.
form too?
Yep, they have a gummy, and then they also have a liquid format, I think. So, yeah.
Well, we vote Dr. Stephanie's over someone that's not a doctor. Okay.
Just try it. Or especially if you've tried, Armra is the popular brand. If you've tried Armra or Bloom or other colostrum forms and you're like, oh, I couldn't tolerate that, I welcome you to come back to colostrum and try it in this format.
Okay. Oh,
Thank
I
you
learn
for answering those. Wow.
so much. I feel like I have to re-listen to these episodes 17 times. And that's just because the amount that we jam in this episode because of you is amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I think we need to break down even more. 3 takeaways, gold stars, that you want to leave listeners with. Started with that impact question in the beginning. It was amazing. But what would you like to wrap up the show with? If there was 3 top takeaways, what do you hope people leave with today?
I would say, again, I want to reiterate, especially if you're a woman aging, perimenopause is creeping in, that brain fog, all the hormone imbalances, please try creatine, because the energy levels it can give you, the clarity and focus and memory recall, and just the neuroprotective effects it gives you, I think can make a really meaningful difference. Number 2, what we didn't talk about, and I know you guys talk about this a lot, is sleep as the foundation of everything. Right? Everything. I think before exercise and diet and everything, it has to be sleep, because it's really hard to eat well, and it's really hard to have healthy hormone levels and good gut health if you're not sleeping. So I love my Aura Ring. I will say another conversation for another day is it's interesting. I almost wonder sometimes I was listening to or reading a study maybe, or listening to a podcast of this athletic specialist, and she's like, I don't let our athletes wear their Aura Ring before we're competing, because sometimes they really lean in too hard to the numbers. And you're like, oh, my ring says I didn't sleep, I'm going to have a bad day. And I think there's some psychological component to that. So that's fun food for thought for maybe a later conversation. And number 3, this is maybe unrelated to health, but that's okay because we can talk about everything, and mental health is important. But as I age too, and I was reflecting on coming here today, and some general advice I like to give is there's this book called Die with Zero, and it's talking about like our different life stages and how, you know, whether it's health or fitness or just like doing fun things and hobbies, how 10 years from now, I'm not going to do the same thing and have the same opportunities that I have now. So I just like want to encourage everyone to be intentional, you know, make meaningful moments, and go wakeboarding if you have the chance, or like go skiing, and like just, you know, do all the things. And I think when you think about supplementing and optimizing your health, you can look at it from a longevity perspective, and you can look at it from like a great quality of life every single day, and feeling good for my family and feeling good for myself, and just trying to find joy every day because it's going fast.
Yeah. And what's beautiful is you're creating things that allow that. You know? Like if you don't have energy, if your body is off, if your gut health is off, if all you're thinking about is food, you know, like you have the answer to that, along with the lifestyle changes too. And so I love that you're living and breathing it so much.
Well, I'm right there with everyone else. You know, I'm a busy mom, and I'm tired, and I'm stressed, and I'm having my own hormone battles, and it just, you know, I'm right there. So I feel like from a healthcare provider standpoint, I'm like, this is what the research says. This is what real world practitioner experience says. But then also, it is amazing how your heart softens and you have empathy. Like once you start experiencing things yourself, you're just like, wow, I did not give him enough credit to this, because we would have women come into the endocrinology clinic at 40, 50 years old, and they're like, my hair's falling out, I'm so tired, and I can't get rid of this stomach fat. And you're just like, well, you just need to eat less calories. You know, it's like easy to just think like you can fix that problem until you're living it, and you're like, wait, my hormones are completely working against me. And that doesn't have to be the case. So
yeah. Quality of life can improve.
Yeah.
And you have generously offered our listeners a amazing code. Yes. Do you want to gift them and share?
Please use code GOLDIV30 for 30% off your order. Everything, anything, ongoing. I want everyone to try these products, and we have a money-back guarantee, a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you're not satisfied, but go on our website because you can use that code. But as always, you can find us at Target, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS. So.
She's everywhere. drstephanies.com, GoldIV30. Use it, and then let us know what you love about it, because we're using it too. And it's so fun to see how it can change your energy level. And Brooke can't stop talking about the superfruit energy. Yes. I need to try it.
I keep yelling at Andrew, like, will you freaking try this?
She's like, are you going to like give it to me?
Seriously, I'm going to steal this. But no, everyone, 30% off. That's huge. That is huge. So take advantage. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Stephanie.
Thank you.
As you know from our first episode, we leave our listeners with a piece of gold, a quote. Would you please send us off with yours today?
You are stronger than you think.
This is Gold Ivy signing off.
Listen to your truth and go chase your gold. We want to thank you and encourage you to celebrate yourself for taking the time to learn and get inspired in your one beautiful life. And if this podcast means something to you, it would mean so much to us if you'd be willing to take 30 seconds to help support our mission to keep bringing you inspiring stories and guests.
First, following the podcast is important because it helps you never miss an episode. To do this, just go to the Ivy Unleashed podcast show page on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And then just tap the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner or click on follow.
While you're there, if you'd be so kind to give us a 5-star rating and review and share your favorite episode with a friend, we'd be so grateful for your support.
We are thrilled you're here and are so happy that you're taking time to prioritize your wellness, self-discovery, and growth with us. Additionally, we want to remind you that this podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We are not licensed therapists, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professionals.